Hey guys, so I know that normally I am super happy and I want to tell you guys all of the amazing things about RT school, but today I'm going to tell you some of the reasons that RT school can suck. So before I get into this though, I really want to make a point to say all of these things apply to any type of healthcare program you go into. Because with any healthcare program, you are learning how to deal with people's lives. And sometimes you're going to be the only thing in between them living and possibly dying. How easy do you really think a program that teaches you how to do that is going to be? You have to put the time in to succeed. We all know, especially if you're already in the program is time consuming, it's frustrating, it can get, monotonous when you're sitting there studying the same subject over and over and over. But your main goal, like I said, because you are studying to, help people, and some of them are going to be actively dying. Your main goal is to pass your boards and be able to help these people. So yes, you're gonna have to read the same chapter 3, 4, 5 times, and it is going to be frustrating, especially when you don't understand the material in the chapter. That's when you need to make the effort to find another way to study that fits you better, because we all study differently. I can't sit there and, I will read a chapter multiple times to try to make sure I'm getting all of the information out of it, but that's not the best way I study. So I will read a chapter multiple times, and then I have to make graphs and diagrams and find other supplemental material. It takes hours. This is not something that you are just going to wake up knowing, especially if you have never worked or been around healthcare at all. You're not just going to wake up knowing the ins and outs of asthma and COPD and bronchiectasis and cystic fibrosis. It's like learning a new language. If you don't practice consistently and study consistently and put in a huge effort, you're not going to be proficient at it, and you're not going to become an expert in that area. It's the same exact thing. If you don't put in the time, you're not going to get the results. And yes, it's going to be overwhelming and frustrating, and I can guarantee you're probably going to cry at least once, if not 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times over the course of 2 to 4 years, however long your program is. But once you finish this program, what's really amazing is that you're going to be able to take care of people from neonates being born prematurely all the way up to the elderly. And that is an absolutely powerful thing. That's an amazing amount of knowledge, and it's an amazing skill to be able to have. But to get there, you have to have your priorities straight, and you can't be your own worst enemy, because yes, we all want to go do fun things and we all have responsibilities, but it's how you handle those things that's really going to make a difference. And you need to keep in mind that your choices are going to affect you. And if you decide to, for example, go out to a party, go to a concert, go do something else when you're not comfortable and you don't know that material like the back of your hand, and then you have a test the next day and you either fail that test or don't do well on it, you can't blame other people. Our choices that we make have repercussions. So in cases like that, you can't blame other people and can't say, oh, my teacher didn't teach me well enough. Well, your teacher's not going to sit there and hold your hand and tell you, you have that test tomorrow, you shouldn't go out with your friends. You have to make those choices yourself. And yes, it can be frustrating if you want to go do something fun and you can't, because you have responsibilities for something that's going to be your future profession, but you have to make that choice. And if you are not showing up to class or clinical, or you're showing up to these things late because you didn't feel like it that day, you were tired, or you couldn't manage your time well, you need to reevaluate what you are doing that is making you not care enough to get to these things on time, or making you not care enough to show up at all. Because you can't miss days of class or clinical and expect to do well and pass your boards easily at the end of the program. And you also can't, show up to your clinical sites late and then be confused as to why none of your clinical sites are interested in talking to you after you graduate. You have to be on your best behavior for things like that. And you have to show that you want it, because even if you do want it, but you meant to, get there on time and you don't, people are going to think you don't want this. So you have to keep those things in mind. And if you're going to pay all of this money and spend all of this time and you want to be the person that is there to help people that are sick, you need to act like it. It's not a joke. You need to do everything you can to excel and succeed. Do the homework, even if it's not worth points. Do the extra credit. Put in the time. Make sure studying is a priority. Make sure going to clinical is a priority. Make sure that being present and learning is your priority. That is what the whole program is there to do. Now, I do want to say that just because you don't do well on a test or don't pass a test, it doesn't mean it was necessarily your fault or that you didn't care. And we've all been there. We've studied for hours or days for a test and not done well or failed. But you need to reevaluate and you need to learn from it. It can be hard when you did put in a lot of time and you don't do well on something, but the most important thing is that you learn from it. Was there a concept that when you were studying maybe you focused too heavily on, forgetting about others? I know I've definitely done that. I was so worried about one concept that I spent all of this time focusing on it, and then the other things that maybe I didn't have a full grasp on yet or that I didn't know well enough, I kind of let fall to the wayside because I was so worried about this concept that I didn't understand in class. By the time I was done, I understood that concept fantastically, but everything over here that I was a little bit shaky on, I didn't do well on the test. So in those situations, go back, study everything, make sure you understand this material. Or maybe you pulled multiple all-nighters in a row because you were so worried about this test that by the time you got to the test, you're sleep deprived and over-caffeinated probably, and maybe because of this, you couldn't focus to take your test and it caused you to get a poor grade. Or maybe because of that lack of focus and that lack of sleep, you chose wrong answers, and when you go back and review your test, you think, I knew this. Why did I pick this answer? That makes no sense. I know that's not the answer. Why did I do this? So it's just things you have to learn from. So the main point I want to get across is that the respiratory therapy program is hard, and it's meant to be hard. It's trying to prepare you for the real world where you're going to have people's lives in your hand, or you're going to be in that room trying to help somebody else that is trying to save someone. And let me just tell you, school is nothing compared to the real world. I want all of you guys to succeed, and I want everyone to do well, and I want you to be the best you can be. But sometimes sugarcoating things or only talking about the good things is not going to help. Sometimes you have to be straightforward and honest with someone. If someone is complaining to you that they don't understand why they're doing so poorly on all these tests, but they're also missing school every week or not showing up to clinical, and then they're not doing well at their clinical site, that's something that you have to reevaluate. Because everyone has the tendency, myself included, where something doesn't go well and we want to blame someone else. It's not our fault. It can't be our fault. Well, sometimes it is. And you have to just reevaluate what you're doing. Make sure that you are using your time wisely. Make sure you're giving it your all. And if you do those things, you're gonna succeed. And that's really all I want for you guys. So just make sure you are critically evaluating everything that's going on, and make sure you're learning from any mistakes that are made, any, poor test grades. You just have to learn from it and reevaluate what's happening. But I guess that is it for today, and I will talk to you guys next week.